What's happening, everybody? Colin Crandall here, your MMA Power Hour host here. Man, I need to shave. We'll do that tomorrow for sure. And excuse the mess in the background. That seems to be my usual thing. What the hell? Sorry about that. Doesn't look great, but it is what it is. All right, let's check this out. I'm gonna go quick here and give you my thoughts. So from the weigh-ins here, we're looking at some face-offs or stare downs. Ramona Pasquale, Jocelyn Edwards. They size up pretty well. Let me turn it down a little bit there. All right. Pasquale looks a little bit bigger. They both definitely have their backs kind of against the wall to an extent. Well, let me qualify that. Ramona Pasquale, 6-3. She's 33 years old. Not a lot of fights for a 33-year-old out of the Philippines. She's 5'7", 145 pounds. 145. But she is 0-1. She, in her first fight, went up against Josiane Nunes only about 4.5 months ago and lost the decision. But otherwise, a good record to a 4-fight win streak. Jocelyn Edwards, and it shows her at 145. Maybe this is a featherweight fight. I should go back and check that, but if it is, it's unusual. But I'm going to say that it probably is. 10-4 for Jocelyn Edwards, much younger, 26 years old. La Pantera is coming off 2 losses. She does have 3 fights in the UFC. She won her first fight against Wu Yanan Wu, and then lost to Carol Hossa. No shame in that. Lost to Jessica Rose Clark, and has not fought for about 8 months. Her back is against the wall. Odds makers are feeling. Do they even have this on? They don't even have this up anymore, which makes me wonder if that fight is somehow off. I may have missed it. I've been really busy, so if I missed it, I missed it. I'm leaning toward Ramon Pasquale. Okay, let's continue with the next 2 weeks. So they didn't weigh in, so that fight's off. It had to have been recent. All right, next one we're looking at is Liang Na against Silvana Goes Juarez. The taller fighter is Liang Na. To delve into it a little bit more, let's do that right now. Delving into the ladies a little bit more. Na Liang is the Dragon Girl, 5'9" for a strawweight. That's crazy tall. 5'9", 115 pounder out of Heilongjiang, China. Dragon Girl is 19-5, only 25 years old. She's got 24 fights in the UFC. However, though, she's 0-1 last year. In fact, just over a year ago, about 14 months ago, her first fight against Ariane Carnelossi, who is a very strong fighter. She did lose her last fight, but she was on a killing streak before that. She did get stopped. So after over a year, she's back and is 19-5 overall. Several good wins before jumping into the UFC. Fighting the shorter and I think older woman. Wow, a lot older. 12 years older and about 6 inches shorter. It didn't look quite like that. And I think that's probably a mistake. I think there's probably more like 4 inches between them, if not less. But reference that I'm looking at says 6 inches shorter. Silvana Juarez Gomez is 37 years old. And she is 0-2 in the UFC. She did have 2 tough fights. She did get stopped in the first by armbar by Lupita Lupe Godinez, and then by Vanessa Demopoulos at UFC 270, the card that I was there in person covering it in press row. 2 armbars, and Na Liang, let's see if she is a submission threat. And she is absolutely a submission threat. So odds makers, and once again, I don't know what's happening with the reference site I'm looking at. Odds makers have that not on the board either. What the hell? Anyway, don't know. I would not think both those women's fights are off, but it really looks like that should be a win by Na Liang. But I think it's going to be a closer fight than people think. But Na Liang should win that fight. Next up, let's take a look at the weigh-in for the next fight.
Fight kicking off the late prelims live on ESPN2 in the bantamweight division.
There we go. Both guys very fit here. We got Dana Bakare or Garel versus Kyung Ho Kang. And this is going to be a good fight. Definitely a barn burner. Both Asian fighters probably will get some love by the crowd, from the crowd in Singapore. Mr. Dana is 32 years old. At 135, that's a little past your prime years, but not by much. And he's a killer. 12-3 out of Mongolia. In the UFC, he is 3-2. Did come off a loss, though, by the big spinning elbow and spinning back fist by Chris Gutierrez. Only, 2.5 months ago. I don't like always when a fighter comes off a knockout and is fighting again less than about 4 months later. 2.5 months later. I would usually maybe recommend fading that. Too many chick fights, bro. Mr. Bob Trotter, how are you, Bruce? So glad to see you. Their fights are usually snoozers. Carla Rose, yeah, that was a snoozer. They don't have the power or real skills. Yeah, I don't know, Bruce. It depends. I mean, I could argue that. Not that I'm here to argue with you, but the Weili Zhang and Joanna Jędrzejczyk, they beat the living fucking brakes off each other a couple of years ago. I was there in person in press row as well. That's the one where Joanna's head grew to about triple the size with a hematoma or multiple hematomas. That's possibly one of the best fights I've ever seen. So if you have not seen that one, Bruce Bob Trotter, you got to go look that up, probably here on YouTube. Absolutely sick fight. 5 rounds. Neither of their feet came off the gas pedal. Absolutely sick. But anyway, and so Sapotins is saying, can't wait for the Zhang fight. I guess it's going to be crazy. Bruce says the elephant man, you saw it. Yeah, that was scary, but how tough is she to be able to keep fighting like that with her head swelling up? Man, double tough girl, very intense. Anyway, let's see what we got here. Dana, Betgarel Dana against Kyung Ho Kang. And Kang, I like, he's more the grappler, 34 years old. Wow, was that a 9-year age difference there? Dana is, no, I'm wrong. Dana's 32. Kang is 34, so they're both a little bit older for bantamweight fighters. Mr. Perfect is out of South Korea. So one of the Korean fighters fight with a lot of pride. He is 4-2, 5-2, 6-2, 6-3, 6-3-1. A lot of fights. He's kind of under the radar there. But I like Kyung Ho Kang in this fight. And the odds makers are feeling that Batgarel is a slight favorite. So I feel good about the dog, Kyung Ho Kang. It's going to be a barn burner, though. Elephant will get some good too. That's it. Yeah, Bruce Bob Trotter. She's looking good, though. Definitely. I agree. Weili Zhang, and when she saw her come out for the meeting in the press conference, said, "You look so beautiful, so gorgeous." That was pretty cool. They had a good, friendly moment there. A lot of respect for each other the girls have there. So Kyung Ho Kang, moving on. Let's see who's next in the weigh-ins here. Here we go. Brendan Allen against Jacob Malkoun. And I knew that whoever was saying there's like a 5-inch height difference was wrong. There's like literally maybe a 1-inch, 1.5-inch, 2-inch height difference, maybe at most. Good weigh-in. Both guys look fit and strong. Malkoun is an Aussie. There's a lot of Aussies on this card. And he's out of the Robert Whittaker camp. And, man, I love Robert Whittaker. The guy's absolutely a killer. The odds makers are not giving Malkoun much of a chance here. They're making it, plus about 3-1. Yeah. Brendan Allen, about 3-1 favorite. I think a little bit of late money may be coming in on Malkoun. I like Malkoun. I think Malkoun can win this fight. If I were to bet, it would be like probably a half a unit or maybe even less because Brendan Allen is a very, very tough guy. But I think Malkoun is live in this fight. And you got some dog money coming your way on that bet. All right, let's see what's next. Interesting. Steve Garcia and the man they're giving one name, Mahashete. He's really Hayasar Mahachete.
All right, now we get
And interesting fight. Mr. Mahachete is making his UFC debut. 22 years old. The dude has 9 fights. Well, that's a good amount of fights for 22. But wow, 6 feet, 155 pounds, out of China. Should have a definitely home octagon advantage in Singapore. I would think a lot of people cheering for him. And he is on a 6-fight win streak. Several by stoppage, some by decision. I just don't like a 22-year-old making his UFC debut. I'll fade that every time, and I'm usually right, not always. Steve Garcia is 30 years old at 155. He's in his prime, probably about the middle of his prime for that weight class, in my opinion. 12-4. He's only got 2 UFC fights, 1 and 2. I like Steve Garcia. I do. I could be wrong. This kid Mahachete could be real, really legit and really amazing. I think Steve Garcia though is too big of a test for not too much of an ask. And Steve Garcia is going to be the favorite. Yeah, almost 2-1, -180, -175 on some websites. I like Steve Garcia. Should be a good fight though, and I hate that it's hard to bet. It's kind of an X factor when a young guy's coming up from smaller organizations. You really don't know how good he is. So if you want to be smart, you might want to avoid any play on that fight. But if so, I think the favorite wins that fight. Let's see what's next on the way.
Della Maddalena.
A lot of respect in the weigh-in face-off with Ramazan Emeev and Jack Della Maddalena. Della Maddalena, one of several Aussies on this card. He is making his UFC debut, 25 years old. A lot of hype behind him, the Perth native. And 11-2. He's coming off of wow. He lost his first 2 pro fights, and he's won his last 11 in a row. And every single one, except for one, was by stoppage. He's 1-0 in the UFC, but the guy he beat was only 4-0 when he beat him. He did win by decision in Dana White's Contender Series. 2 wins as an amateur as well. 25 years old. I usually fade anyone under 26. So already I'm leaning toward Ramazan Emeev. Emeev is 35, 10-year age difference. So you have a guy who's not yet in his prime, who's actually a few years away from his prime, against a guy who's a couple, 3 years outside of his prime. Emeev out of Dagestan is a tough, rugged guy, 20-5. He's been in the UFC for a minute, but not that long. What is he? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5-2 in the UFC. He was fighting at 185 first and was undefeated in the UFC. Lost his first fight against Anthony Rocco Martin 3 years ago, but Rocco was on a good streak then. And then he beat Nicholas Dulce, David Zawada, and then just lost to Danny Roberts by split decision. Roberts was really motivated in that fight, and I think that fight was in England. Am I wrong? I may be wrong. I am wrong. I was in Las Vegas. Not a good look though when Danny Roberts lost his next fight after that. So some people are doubting the man from Dagestan. I'm not. I think this is going to be a tough fight. I could be wrong. Again, it's an X factor when you're betting a kid that is coming up from lower leagues and hasn't proven himself with even one single fight in the UFC. The Aussies are tough, especially the training with Robert Whitaker. The guy could be a killer. He looks very strong and rugged. But I'm going the Dagestani Ramazan Emeev. He should be favored here. I would think maybe at least 1.5-1, 2-1. And let's take a look. And he isn't. They're making the 25-year-old in his UFC debut, a 2-1, not quite, 1.5-1 favorite. Ramazan Emeev all day. Could I be wrong? Yes. Wouldn't bet much, but I like Ramazan Emeev here as a dog. Don't think he should be a dog at all. All right, let's see what's next. Let's hear the weigh-in. All right, pause that. All right, this is an interesting fight. I've been high on Andre Fialho for quite a while. When he took a short notice fight, and I think his first UFC fight was a short notice fight against Michel Pereira. Wow, and that was in January. And he has a good record before that. He was 16. I think he was like 14-3 before that. Yeah. And anyway, he looked good. He didn't win, but he looked really tough. I picked him against Miguel Baeza. He, beat the brakes off him quick. Caught him in that first round. I took him against Cameron Van Camp. That was a hard bet. And he did beat him also in the first round. However, here's a kind of a mitigating factor that makes me actually back the other guy here, despite the fact that I like Fialho a lot. This is going to be his fourth fight in the last 4 3/4 months. Fourth fight in less than 5 months. This is going to be his third fight in the last 2 months. That's a lot of having to make weight, having to travel. I mean, I think that's too much. Could I be wrong? I could be wrong. But as a long-time sports bettor and fight bettor, gambler and handicapper, I just got a feeling. This is too much activity for the man from Portugal. And not only that, but Jake Matthews is really needing this win. He did lose to Sean Brady in the third. He got caught by arm triangle choke. Nothing new there. Pretty much if you face Sean Brady, get ready to take the L. The guy's an absolute killer. But I do think Jake Matthews is definitely motivated here. He looks good. And I think the fact that he is coming off a 13-month layoff, but he's only 27 years old. I think it's different. If you're older and you're off a year, 2 years layoff, sometimes it's not good. Sometimes you're 34, 36, 38, or 40. In that time, you may have lost a step. And the older you get, the kind of more active you've got to stay. Young guys, sometimes it just really is. It refreshes them. It lets them, improve their skills and learn and get even better. And so I think this is going to be Jake Matthews. And I think that would be an upset here when you take a look. Yeah, just slightly. The odds makers, I think, are kind of wise to this. I was thinking they were going to make Fialho like minus 200, but they have him minus 137, 144, 150. Jake Matthews, slight dog. I like Jake Matthews here. Although I really like Fialho, and I think he probably has the higher ceiling. Although I think Jake Matthews has a high ceiling as well. I think Matthews is 5 years younger here. Let me take a look. No, he isn't. Fialho is just 28 years old. Yeah, I think Fialho has a higher ceiling, but I think this is too much activity, too much wear and tear on his body. And, capping all that activity off by this intercontinental flight, I think is good. And we're not going to see Fialho in the best here. So anyway, let's go real quick to the next up on the weigh-ins and see what we're looking at. Weili Zhang and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. All right. Really good weigh-in. Respectful. Joanna always is taller as she crouches down, gets in her opponent's face. What a good fight. What a good fight. Five rounds was their fight 2 years ago, and 3 rounds is what we're looking at now. That can make a big difference. The only thing is they both stepped on the gas pedal right from the beginning. Weili Zhang, or Zhang Weili, is 32 years old. And since they fought, she's had 2 fights, both 2 Rose Namajunas, and lost both. On the second one was very, very close. And that second fight was about 7 months ago, 7, 8 months ago. And Joanna, I think, has had 0 fights. Also, Weili, 32 years old, and Joanna Jędrzejczyk from Poland, 34 years old, and that is correct. No fights since then. for Joanna, which is giving her a chance to heal up. We know Whaley spent some time over at Fight Ready, and wrestling has gotten better. I don't know if it's improved, a huge amount, but it's definitely gotten better. Joanna, I think, is really going to be the fresher fighter here. She's 2 years older. I think this is going to be a hell of a fight. This is so hard to call, but I'm going to call Joanna. By the way, I thought Joanna won that first fight, and I was there. I mentioned it. I know that Dana White didn't think so, but I had a good rapport back and forth with Dana, as I always do when I'm there, and I, felt that that's what I saw, and then he asked how many reporters felt that way, and several of them. Really close fight, though. I think Joanna won that, and I think she will get her revenge here and win this fight more. I think there's more upside left on Joanna than Zhang Whaley. Odds makers are feeling that I am wrong. So you get plus money on Joanna Jacek, and it's about 1.5 to 1. I'll take it. Really tough, scary fight. I got Joanna Jacek in a really scary fight that I would bet maybe a half on. Let's see what's next. Bullet, Shevchenko, Talia, Santos.
All right, we step up.
Respectful, but intense weigh-in, stare down, face off. I think Talia Santos got a chance here. Call me crazy. I love Valentina Shevchenko. She is a killer. I believe that Santos may be the biggest and physically strongest and one of the most confident fighters she has fought in the flyweight division. She's just a big, strong woman. Can she stay composed in there when Shevchenko starts putting it on her? I mean, Shevchenko is so confident. Her game is so balanced. She knows the 5 rounds so well. So she can go in there and start putting it on her opponent and knows exactly how much energy to use and when to tone it down and when to step on the gas. I mean, it's so many advantages, whereas I think this is going to be the first 5-rounder. First Santos, I think in that case, you're probably going to be really erring on the side of not gassing yourself out, and that can leave you at a disadvantage when you're facing someone so experienced and so tenacious. So I think the whole thing is going to be that in the first round, how much she can not get lit up by Valentina, I think is going to be telling. If she gets lit up bad, then it could be all bad from there. I don't think so. Would I go out yelling and screaming that Talia Santos wins this for sure? No, you'd be an idiot to say that. I like the odds, though. I think they shouldn't be this big. But Valentina is one of the women's GOATs, greatest of all time, for most of you that know that already. But I like the dog money. This is essentially about a 5.5, 6 to 1 contest. And you get anywhere from plus 450 to plus 550 on the Brazilian Talia Santos. I think it's worth something. I would put a full unit. I would put a full unit on that. I think maybe a half a unit because the odds are so good. Probably anyway, either a half a unit or a full unit. But I think the Brazilian's got a chance here. I really do. And the final weigh-in we know is going to be for the main event. Intense stare down, but a lot of respect. No bad blood, no trash talk. The 42-year-old going up against the 29-year-old. Glover Teixeira is a beast. I picked Glover to win his last 4 fights, and he's won them. I love it. 42 years old, paid his dues. His 96-year-old grandfather, has lived to see him be champion. Such a nice guy, such a hard worker. Fought as a pro for 20 years now, and in the UFC for 10. You can see a little bit of a difference in their body. The younger man does look a lot younger. Yuri looks like he's just a young guy just starting his prime at this weight. at 29 years old, and Glover isn't. But for 42 years old, Glover looks great, and 42, as we know, doesn't have to mean you're all through by any means. Although doesn't mean you have a whole lot of years left, and I think Glover knows that, and I think he's not planning on being around for too many more years as far as fighting the UFC, living in the US. The favorite here is Yuri Prokaska. No one, they never make Glover the favorite. They always feel Glover's going to lose, and they do for the most part. I got Glover here. It's really scary though, very very scary. A half a unit. If I bet on this card, it's going to be small amount after small amount after small amount. A lot of these fights are really really close. Could Yuri catch Glover and finish him quickly? Could I picture him jumping up on the top of the octagon and just screaming, and his top knot ponytail, whatever that is, swinging around and he's going crazy? Yeah, I could easily see that. I think Glover wins it though. I got Glover Teixeira as a very live dog. That's about it. I am going to probably be here and do the call, at least for the prelims. And maybe I won't have such a mess behind me, man. Forgive me for that, guys. But it is what it is. Anyway, that's about it. So hope you enjoy. Appreciate the guys jumping in. Bruce Bob Trotter and Sosa Potent's going to be some amazing fights, guys. And, check them out. Even the women's fights, Bruce, especially the Weili Zhang and Joanna. But I think the other ones might be exciting. Like I said, Santos, you don't want to miss that. If Santos pulls the upset, you don't want to say that you missed the fight there. So I'm sure Mr. Bob Trotter will watch probably all the main card at least. Anyway, peace to all you guys. Appreciate you a lot.